The work bell rang across orbital station Hana 7, and Ti-Woo put down his scanner with a tired sigh. His back hurt. His feet hurt. Everything hurt. But the pain went away when he thought about his daughter waiting for him at the school module. He walked through the metal hallways of the station, passing aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some had 4 arms. Some had scales. Some floated instead of walked. After 5 years on this station, Ti-Woo had stopped being surprised by anything. He just wanted to pick up Suwa and go home. The school module was near the center of the station, where the gravity was most stable. Ti-Woo saw his daughter through the window before she saw him. She was 8 years old now, with her mother's bright eyes and her father's stubborn chin. She was drawing something on a tablet while the other children played around her. When she looked up and saw him, her face lit up like a small sun. "Appa," she called out, running to him. Ti-Woo caught her in his arms and lifted her up. She was getting too big for this, but he did it anyway. Some things were more important than a sore back. "How was school?" he asked. "Boring," Suwa said. "Teacher made us learn about trade routes again. I already know all the trade routes." Ti-Woo smiled. "All of them?" "Well, most of them, the important ones." They walked together through the lower market district, holding hands. This was the busiest part of the station, where traders from 100 worlds came to buy and sell. The air smelled like strange spices and engine oil. Lights of every color flashed from shop windows. Voices called out in languages Ti-Woo could not understand. Suwa liked to look at everything. She pointed at a merchant selling glowing fruits. She waved at an alien child with 6 eyes. She asked her father 100 questions about things he could not answer. Then she stopped walking. "Appa," she said, pulling his hand, "look." Ti-Woo looked where she was pointing. Near a docking bay entrance, sitting on a large cargo crate, was a small alien girl. She sat very still, with her hands folded neatly in her lap. Her skin was blue-gray, like the color of storm clouds. Her eyes were large and violet, like 2 purple moons. She wore simple clothes that looked old and worn but clean. She was alone. "Is she waiting for someone?" Suwa asked. Ti-Woo looked around. The docking bay behind the girl was empty. No ships, no adults. No one seemed to be watching her or looking for her. "Maybe," he said. "Let me check." He walked over to the cargo crate, and the alien girl looked up at him. She did not seem afraid. She did not seem happy either. Her face was calm and empty, like still water. "Hello," Ti-Woo said gently. "Are you okay? Where are your parents?" The girl blinked her large eyes once. "My mom told me to wait," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. She spoke Universal Standard well, though with a slight accent. She said she would come back. "When did she leave?" "This morning." Ti-Woo felt something cold touch his heart. This morning was many hours ago. The market was already getting dark. Shops were closing. The crowds were thinning. "What is your name?" he asked. "Lyra." "Lyra, do you know where your mom went?" The girl shook her head slowly. "She said to wait. She said she would come back." Ti-Woo looked at the docking bay again. He walked to the information screen near the entrance and checked the logs. His heart sank when he read them. A Vellani trading ship had departed from this bay 6 hours ago. Destination unknown. He knew about the Vellani. They were nomadic traders who traveled from station to station, world to world. They kept to themselves and did not join the Federation. They had their own laws, their own customs. He did not know much else about them. He returned to the girl. Suwa had already climbed onto the crate and was sitting next to her. "This is Lyra," Suwa announced. "She is my new friend." "Suwa," Ti-Woo said carefully, "please wait here for a moment. I need to talk to someone." He walked to a nearby security station, where a bored officer sat watching screens. Ti-Woo explained the situation. The officer listened, then shrugged. "Vellani kid," he said. "Not our problem. They are not Federation members. No protocol for their children." She is a child alone on a station, Ti-Wu said, his voice getting harder. Someone has to do something. File a report if you want. Put her in the system. Maybe someone will look at it tomorrow, maybe next week. The officer turned back to his screens. Look, I am not trying to be cruel, but we get a dozen abandoned kids every month, from 10 different species. We do not have the people or the money to handle them all. Most of them get picked up eventually, some of them do not. Ti-Wu stood there, feeling angry and helpless at the same time. He thought about arguing more, but he knew it would not help. He had seen how the station worked. The Federation cared about trade and taxes. It did not care much about one small alien girl. He filed the report anyway. Then he walked back to the cargo crate. The market was almost empty now. The lights were dimming to signal night cycle. Lyra sat exactly where he had left her, hands still folded, eyes still watching the docking bay entrance. She has not moved, Suwa whispered to him. Not even a little bit. Ti-Wu looked at the girl. She had no bag, no food, no water. She had nothing except the old clothes on her small body and the belief that her mother would return. He made a decision. Lyra, he said, kneeling down to her level. Would you like to come home with us tonight, just until your mom comes back? You can eat dinner and sleep in a warm bed. Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Something flickered in her violet eyes. Fear, hope, he could not tell. My mom said to wait here, she said. I know, but I promise we will come back to check tomorrow, and if your mom comes, the station will tell her where you are. Is that okay? The girl thought about this. Then slowly she nodded. Suwa took her hand and helped her down from the crate. Lyra moved stiffly, like she had been sitting there for a very long time. She was smaller than Suwa, even though they looked about the same age. They walked through the quiet market toward home. Suwa talked the whole way, telling Lyra about her school and her toys and her favorite foods. Lyra listened but did not speak. She just held Suwa's hand and walked. Their quarters were small but comfortable. 2 bedrooms, a tiny kitchen, a bathroom with a real water shower. Ti-Wu had worked hard to afford this place after his wife died 3 years ago. It was not much, but it was home. He made dinner while the girls sat at the table. Suwa was still talking, showing Lyra pictures on her tablet. Lyra watched politely, nodding sometimes. When Ti-Wu put food in front of her, Lyra stared at it. It was simple food. Rice, vegetables, some protein cubes, nothing special. But the girl looked at it like she had never seen anything so wonderful. She ate slowly and carefully, taking small bites. She did not waste a single grain. She used her napkin to catch every crumb. When she was finished, her plate was completely clean. When did you last eat? Ti-Wu asked quietly. Lyra thought about it. Yesterday, she said, I think. Ti-Wu felt that cold touch on his heart again, harder this time. He gave her more food. She ate that too, just as carefully. Later, Suwa gave Lyra some of her old pajamas to wear. They were too big, but Lyra put them on without complaint. She stood in the doorway of Suwa's room, looking uncertain. You can sleep in my room tonight, Suwa said happily. I have an extra bed for guests. It was just a small mat on the floor, but Lyra looked at it like it was a throne. She lay down carefully, pulling the blanket up to her chin. Ti-Wu came to say good night. He looked at the small alien girl in his daughter's room, and he felt something twist in his chest. Good night, Lyra, he said. Sleep well. Tomorrow we will look for your mom. Lyra looked up at him with her large violet eyes. She will come back, she said softly. She told me to wait. She will come back. Ti-Wu nodded and turned off the light. He sat alone in the kitchen for a long time that night thinking. Something was wrong. He could feel it in his bones. Mothers did not just leave their children on cargo crates. Mothers did not fly away without looking back. But he did not know what else to do except wait and see. Outside the window, the stars turned slowly around the station. Somewhere out there, a Villani ship was flying farther and farther away. and in a small room, a little girl with storm cloud skin was dreaming about a mother who had told her to wait. 3 days passed, and Lyra's mother did not come back. Tiwu checked the docking bay every morning before work. He checked again every evening. He filed more reports. He talked to more officers. The answer was always the same. No Velani ships had returned. No one was looking for a lost girl. He applied for temporary guardianship. The paperwork took hours. The officials asked questions he could not answer. What was the child's full name? He did not know. What was her birth date? He did not know. What planet was she from? He did not know. This is very unusual, the official said, looking at him with tired eyes. Cross-species temporary care is complicated. There are forms, procedures, medical checks. She is a child with no home, Tiwu said simply. What do you want me to do? Put her back on the cargo crate. The official sighed and stamped the papers. Tiwu was given temporary guardianship for 30 days. After that, there would be a review. Someone would decide what to do with Lyra. His friend Bora met him outside the office. She was a tall woman with short hair and practical clothes. She worked in the same cargo bay as Tiwu. They had known each other for years. "You are crazy," she said, but she was smiling. "A single father taking care of an alien child. Do you even know how to take care of a Velani?" "I will learn," Tiwu said. "She is not so different from a human child." "She is different in ways you do not understand yet." Bora's smile faded. "I have seen Velani cases before, Tiwu. They rarely end well. The mothers do not come back. Maybe this one will be different." Bora looked at him with sad eyes. "Maybe, but be careful with your heart, my friend." Tiwu went home and tried not to think about her words. Lyra was an easy child to care for, too easy. She never complained. She never cried. She never asked for anything. She ate what was given to her, wore what was given to her, and did what she was told. Every morning she woke up early and sat by the door. She sat there quietly, watching, waiting. When Tiwu asked what she was doing, she always gave the same answer. "Waiting for my mom." Every evening before bed, she asked the same question. "Did my mom send a message?" And every evening, Tiwu had to tell her no. He expected her to be sad. He expected her to cry or get angry. But Lyra just nodded calmly and went to bed. It was like she had practiced disappointment so many times that she no longer felt it. This worried Tiwu more than tears would have. Suwa, on the other hand, was thrilled to have someone to play with. She treated Lyra like a new sister. She showed her all her toys, taught her all her games, told her all her secrets. Slowly, very slowly, Lyra began to open up. One evening, Tiwu was cooking dinner when he heard laughter from Sua's room. He stopped and listened. It was two voices laughing, not one. He walked quietly to the doorway and looked inside. Suwa and Lyra were playing with toy spaceships, making them fly through the air. Suwa was making loud engine noises. Lyra was making quiet ones. But Lyra was smiling, a real smile that reached her violet eyes. Tiwu went back to the kitchen and wiped something from his face. Just steam from the cooking, he told himself. As the days passed, Lyra began to share small pieces of her story. "My mom travels a lot," she said one afternoon. "She sells things, cloth and spices and sometimes machines." "Does she travel alone?" Tiwu asked. Sometimes with partners. They change a lot." "Do you travel with her?" Lyra was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes, when there is room on the ship. Other times she leaves me with people." "What kind of people?" "Different people on different stations." Lyra picked at her food. "Sometimes they are nice, sometimes they are not." Tiwu felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "Has she left you alone before, like she did here?" Lyra nodded slowly. "A few times, but she always came back before." She looked up at him with those large eyes. "She always came back." That night after the girls were asleep, Ti-Wu sat at his computer and searched for information about the Vellani. He read for hours. What he found made his stomach turn. The Vellani were an old species, older than humans by thousands of years. They had spread across the galaxy long before Earth even had cities. They were traders by nature, always moving, always selling, never staying in one place. But their culture was strange by human standards, cold, practical. To the Vellani, everything was about value, worth, usefulness. A good ship was worth keeping, a bad ship was worth selling, a good tool was worth repairing, a bad tool was worth throwing away. And children, Ti-Wu read with growing horror, were no different. Vellani children were seen as investments. Parents spent resources on them, hoping they would grow into useful adults. But if a child proved to be a bad investment, if they were sick or slow or too emotional, they were considered a loss. And Vellani did not hold on to losses. There was a word for it in their language. Ti-Wu found it in an old academic article. The word translated roughly to returned, like a product sent back to a store, like something that did not work right. Children who were returned were left behind, on stations, on planets, anywhere their parents happened to be when they decided the investment was not worth continuing. The mothers never came back. Ti-Wu sat back in his chair, feeling sick. He thought about Lyra sitting by the door every morning, waiting, believing, hopping. He needed to know more. He sent a message to Bora. The next day, Bora met him during lunch break. Her face was serious. "I found something," she said. When Lyra was processed at the dock, the medical station did a basic scan, standard procedure for all arrivals. There was a note on her file. "What kind of note?" Bora hesitated. "It was in Vellani script. I had it translated." She handed him a small paper. On it was written a single word in clean black letters. "Returned." Ti-Wu stared at the word. His hands were shaking. "What does this mean?" he asked, even though he already knew. "It means what you think it means," Bora said softly. "Her mother is not coming back, Ti-Wu. She was never going to come back. Lyra was left here on purpose." "But why? Lyra is a good child. She is smart and polite and kind. What could possibly be wrong with her?" Bora pulled out another paper. The medical scan found something, an old lung condition, some kind of childhood fever that left minor scarring. "It is nothing serious. Human medicine could fix it easily, but for Vellani it makes her defective," Ti-Wu finished, his voice hollow. "Yes." He sat in silence for a long moment. Around them, the station hummed with life. Workers walked past, eating lunch, talking about normal things. Nobody noticed the man whose heart was breaking. "She sits by the door every morning," Ti-Wu said quietly. "She waits for her mother. She asks about messages every night. She truly believes her mother is coming back for her." Bora put her hand on his arm. "I know, I am sorry. I have to tell her. I have to tell her the truth." "Are you sure? She is just a child. Maybe it is better to let her believe for now." Ti-Wu shook his head. "No, false hope is crueler than hard truth. I learned that when my wife was sick." He stood up slowly. "She deserves to know. She deserves to stop waiting." That night, Ti-Wu sat awake in the kitchen, thinking about what he would say. How do you tell a child that her mother threw her away? How do you explain that she was loved less than cargo, valued less than a broken tool? He did not know, but he knew he had to try. Around midnight, he heard a sound from Sua's room, small footsteps on the floor. He walked quietly to the doorway and looked inside. Lyra was sitting up in her small bed. The blanket was wrapped around her shoulders. She was staring at the wall with her large violet eyes. Ti-Wu stepped into the room. "Lyra, are you okay?" The girl did not look at him. "I heard you talking today," she said softly. "You and the tall woman, I heard the word." Ti-Wu's heart stopped. "What word?" "Returned." Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. I know what it means. I have heard it before, other children, other stations. She finally looked at him and her eyes were full of something terrible. She is not coming back, is she? Ti-Woo knelt beside her bed. He did not know what to say, so he just shook his head slowly. No, he said, his voice thick, she is not. For a moment nothing happened. Lyra sat perfectly still like she always did. Then her face crumpled, her small body shook, and for the first time since he found her, she began to cry. They were not loud cries. They were small, quiet sobs, like she was trying to hide them even now. Like she had learned that crying was wrong, that it made her less valuable. Ti-Woo reached out and pulled her into his arms. She was so small, so light. Her hands gripped his shirt tightly, and she buried her face in his shoulder. I tried to be good, she sobbed. I tried so hard. I did not complain. I did not cause trouble. I waited like she told me. I did everything right. I know, Ti-Woo said, holding her close. I know you did. Why was it not enough? Why does nobody want me? Ti-Woo held her tighter. In the other bed, Suah was awake now, watching with wide eyes. She climbed out of bed and came over, wrapping her small arms around both of them. They stayed like that for a long time, 3 people in a small room on a station among the stars. A human father who had lost his wife, a human daughter who had lost her mother, and an alien girl who had lost everything. But maybe, Ti-Woo thought as he held them both, maybe they had found something too. He made a silent promise that night. Lyra's mother might have returned her, but he never would. The days after that night were different. Lyra stopped sitting by the door in the mornings. She stopped asking about messages in the evenings. Something had broken inside her, but something else had started to grow in its place. She cried more now. At first this scared Ti-Woo. He was not used to seeing her show emotion, but Bora told him it was a good sign. She is learning that it is safe to feel, Bora said. With her mother, feelings were weakness. Weakness made her less valuable. But with you, she is starting to understand that feelings are allowed. Ti-Woo tried his best to make her feel safe. He cooked her favorite foods. He read her stories before bed. He held her when she woke up from nightmares. And slowly, day by day, the scared little girl on the cargo crate began to disappear. In her place was a real child. A child who laughed at silly jokes. A child who argued with Suah about toys. A child who sometimes said no when she did not want to do something. The first time Lyra said no to him, Ti-Woo almost cried with happiness. I do not want vegetables tonight, Lyra said, crossing her small arms. You have to eat your vegetables, Ti-Woo said, trying to look serious. They are good for you. Suah does not eat her vegetables. Suah is a bad example. Hey, Suah protested, I eat some vegetables. You hide them under your rice, Lyra said. Ti-Woo looked at his human daughter with raised eyebrows. Suah's face turned red. She is lying, Suah said weakly. She is not lying, and you are both eating your vegetables. Both girls groaned, but they ate their vegetables. Ti-Woo smiled the whole time. Bora came to visit often now. She brought small gifts for the girls and helped Ti-Woo with the endless paperwork. 30 days of temporary guardianship would end soon, and there would be a review. Ti-Woo needed to decide what to do next. You could let her go into the system, Bora said one evening while the girls played in the other room. The station has homes for orphaned children. They are not great, but they are not terrible either. Ti-Woo shook his head. I have seen those homes. The children there are forgotten. Nobody comes to adopt them. Nobody fights for them. They just wait until they are old enough to work, and then they are pushed out into the galaxy alone. Then what will you do? I want to adopt her. Bora was quiet for a long moment. That is a big decision, Ti-Woo. You already have Suah. You are already working 2 shifts to pay for this place. Adding another child, an alien child, it will cost you money you do not have. It will take time you do not have. I know. And the adoption process for cross-species cases is long and difficult. There are medical checks, cultural reviews, legal hearings. It could take months, maybe years, and at the end they might still say no. I know all of this, Bora. Tiwu looked toward the other room where he could hear the girls laughing. But when I look at her, I do not see an alien. I do not see a burden. I just see a child who needs a home. How can I turn away from that? Bora sighed, but she was smiling. You are a stubborn fool, you know that. My wife used to say the same thing. She was a smart woman. Bora stood up and gathered her things. All right, stubborn fool, I will help you. I know some people in the administrative office. Maybe we can speed up the process a little bit. Thank you, Bora, for everything. Do not thank me yet. This is going to be the hardest thing you have ever done. She was right, it was hard, harder than he had imagined. The paperwork alone took weeks. Forms about his income, his home, his history. Medical exams for everyone in the household. Background checks that went back 20 years. Every part of his life was examined, questioned, and documented. Then came the interviews. Why do you want to adopt a Vellani child? The official asked. She was a stern woman with gray hair and cold eyes. Because she needs a home, Tiwu said simply. There are many children who need homes. Why this one? Because she is already part of my family. She has been living with us for 2 months now. My daughter loves her like a sister. I love her like a daughter. Love is not enough, Mr. Kim. Cross-species adoption requires resources, time, cultural understanding. Do you know anything about Vellani culture? I know that her culture threw her away because she was not perfect. Tiwu's voice was harder now. I know that her mother left her on a cargo crate and never looked back. That is all I need to know. The official wrote something in her notes. We will continue this review next week. Between the interviews, Tiwu had to deal with the medical issues. Lyra's lung condition needed treatment. Human medicine could fix it easily, but the treatment cost money. Money he did not have. He took extra shifts at work. He sold things he did not need. He ate less so the girls could eat more. It was hard, exhausting, and lonely. But when he came home at night and saw 2 little faces waiting for him at the door, it was worth it. Appa, they would shout together, running to greet him. Su'a had taught Lyra the word weeks ago. The first time Lyra called him Appa, Tiwu had to leave the room so the girls would not see him cry. The weeks turned into months. Lyra's lung treatment was working. Her color was better. She could run and play without getting tired. The doctors said she would make a full recovery. But the adoption process was stuck. There is a problem, Bora told him one afternoon. Her face was serious. A Vellani trade representative is coming to the station. He heard about Lyra's case somehow. He wants to meet with you. Why, what does he want? I do not know, but it cannot be good. The meeting happened 3 days later. Tiwu sat in a small conference room, waiting. His hands were sweating. His heart was racing. He had never met a Vellani adult before. The door opened and a tall figure walked in. He was thin and angular with the same blue-gray skin as Lyra. His eyes were cold and calculating, like a merchant examining goods. He wore expensive robes and moved with perfect grace. Mr. Kim, the Vellani said. His voice was smooth and flat. Thank you for meeting with me. I am called Trader Voss. I represent Vellani commercial interests in this sector. What do you want? Tiwu asked. He was too tired for polite words. Voss sat down across from him. I have heard about the child you are caring for, the one called Lyra. I am here to resolve this situation. Resolve it how? To formally relinquish all Vellani claims on the child. Voss pulled out a data pad. Sign this document and she becomes your legal responsibility. No Vellani will ever come to take her back. No Vellani will ever question your guardianship. Tiwu stared at him. You are giving her up just like that. She was already given up. Her mother declared her returned. That means she no longer has value to our people. She is no one's responsibility. Voss tilted his head slightly. But you humans seem to want her for some reason. I am here to make sure there are no legal complications. No legal complications, Ti-Wu repeated. His voice was shaking with anger. She is a child, a living, breathing child, and you talk about her like she is broken equipment. Voss blinked slowly. I do not understand your anger. The child was defective. Her lungs were damaged. She would have been a burden on resources, a drain on profits. Her mother made a logical choice. A logical choice. She left her daughter on a cargo crate to starve. She flew away without looking back. There is nothing logical about abandoning your own child. That is your human perspective. Our species sees things differently. Voss pushed the data pad toward him. Sign the document, take the child. We do not want her. Ti-Wu wanted to shout. He wanted to throw the table across the room, but he took a deep breath and forced himself to stay calm. This man was offering him exactly what he wanted. He should take it and be grateful. But there was one more thing he needed to say. I have a question, Ti-Wu said. Why do humans keep doing this? Taking in your abandoned children, caring for them. It happens often, does it not? Voss looked uncomfortable for the first time. It happens sometimes. Humans seem drawn to defective things. We do not understand it. Let me explain it to you. Ti-Wu stood up slowly. Humans do not measure a child's worth by their usefulness. We do not calculate their value based on their health or their strength. To us, a child is precious simply because they exist. They do not need to earn our love. They have it from the moment they are born. That is inefficient, Voss said. That is illogical. Maybe, but it is also the reason your abandoned children keep finding homes. Ti-Wu picked up the data pad. Lyra is not defective. She is not broken. She is a wonderful, beautiful child who deserves to be loved. And I am going to love her for the rest of my life, not because she is useful, but because that is what humans do. He signed the document and handed it back. Voss took it and stood up. He looked at Ti-Wu with something that might have been confusion or maybe fear. You are a strange species, he said quietly. Yes, Ti-Wu agreed, we are. Voss left without another word. That night Ti-Wu went home and told the girls what had happened. Lyra listened quietly, her violet eyes unreadable. So I am really not going back, she asked. You are really not going back. And you are going to be my Appa, for real. Ti-Wu knelt down and took her small hands in his. For real, forever, if you want me to be. Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then she threw her arms around his neck and held on tight. Yes, she whispered, I want that. Su'a joined the hug, wrapping her arms around both of them. I get a sister, she shouted happily. I finally get a real sister. Ti-Wu held his two daughters close and let the tears come. Outside, the stars turned slowly around the station. But inside this small room, a family was being born. Word spread faster than Ti-Wu expected. Within a week, everyone on the station seemed to know about the human cargo worker who was adopting an abandoned Velani child. His coworkers asked him questions. Strangers smiled at him in the hallways. The shop owners in the lower market started giving him discounts. I do not understand, Ti-Wu told Bora one morning. Why does everyone care so much? I am just one person adopting one child. Bora laughed. You really do not see it, do you? What you said to that Velani trader, it got recorded somehow. Security cameras, probably. Someone shared it and now it is everywhere. What do you mean everywhere? I mean everywhere. Other stations, other sectors. The whole frontier is talking about the human who said children do not need to earn love. Ti-Wu felt his face grow hot. I did not mean for that to happen. I was just angry. Well, your anger touched something in people, especially humans. Bora handed him a data pad. Look at this. Ti-Wu scrolled through the messages. There were thousands of them. Messages from human families across the frontier asking how they could help, asking how they could do what Tiwu did, asking about abandoned alien children on their own stations. "These are all real?" he asked, amazed. "Every single one, and this is just from today." He did not know what to say. He had only wanted to help one little girl. He never imagined it would turn into something bigger. But it was getting bigger every day. The adoption process, which had been stuck for months, suddenly started moving again. Officials who had ignored his calls now returned them within hours. Paperwork that had been lost was found. Fees that had been required were waived. "Someone important is paying attention to your case," Bora explained. "Nobody wants to be the one who stopped the famous human adoption story." Tiwu did not care why it was happening. He only cared that it was happening. The medical treatments continued. Lyra's lungs got stronger every week. Human medicine, it turned out, was very good at fixing the kind of damage that had made her worthless to her own people. Within 2 months, the doctors said she was completely healthy. "Her lung function is normal now," the doctor told him, showing him the scan results. "Actually, it is better than normal. She will have no problems at all." "All that suffering," Tiwu said quietly. "All that pain, because of something that could be fixed so easily." The doctor looked at him with sad eyes. "Different species have different values, Mr. Kim. The Villani do not see the point in fixing things that are broken. They would rather throw them away and start over. That is a terrible way to live." "Maybe, but it is not our place to judge them. All we can do is pick up the pieces they leave behind." That was exactly what humans were doing. Tiwu started receiving more news from across the frontier. A human family on Station Vega 12 had adopted 2 abandoned Villani children. Another family on the mining colony of New Seoul had taken in an alien child from a species that sold their unwanted young as workers. A retired couple on an agricultural world had opened their home to any abandoned child who needed one. Reporters started calling them the Hana 7 effect, after the station where it all began. Tiwu was asked to give interviews, but he refused. He was asked to appear on news broadcasts, but he declined. He was offered positions in child welfare organizations, but he turned them down. "I am not a hero," he told Bora. "I am just a tired cargo worker who wanted to help one little girl." "That is exactly why people love you," Bora said. The final adoption hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday afternoon. Tiwu dressed in his best clothes, which were not very fancy, but they were clean. Suwa wore her favorite dress, and Lyra wore a new outfit that Bora had bought for her, soft purple to match her eyes. The hearing room was larger than Tiwu expected. There were officials sitting behind a long table, looking serious. There were cameras recording everything. There were people in the audience that Tiwu did not recognize. He held Lyra's hand as they walked to the front of the room. Her small fingers gripped his tightly. "Are you scared?" he whispered to her. "A little," she admitted. "What if they say no?" "They will not say no, but even if they did, I would never let you go. You know that, right?" Lyra looked up at him with her large violet eyes. "I know, Appa." The hearing began. Officials asked questions about his home, his income, his plans for Lyra's education. They asked about cultural integration, medical care, and emotional support. Tiwu answered everything as honestly as he could. Then they asked Lyra to speak. She walked to the front of the room alone, looking so small in front of all those serious adults. Tiwu held his breath. "Lyra," the head official said gently, "do you understand what is happening today?" "Yes," Lyra said. Her voice was steady. "You are deciding if Tiwu can be my father forever." "That is right. Can you tell us how you feel about that?" Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then she turned and looked at Tiwu. "My mother left me because I was not worth keeping," she said. "That is what my people do. Children are like goods that you buy and sell. If they are broken, you throw them away." The room was very silent. Some of the officials looked uncomfortable. "But humans are different," Lyra continued. "When I was sitting on that cargo crate, nobody came for me. Nobody cared, except one human man who did not even know me. He took me to his home. He gave me food when I was hungry. He gave me medicine when I was sick. He held me when I cried." Tears were running down her cheeks now, but her voice stayed strong. "He did not ask if I was worth it. He did not calculate my value. He just loved me because I was a child who needed love." She wiped her eyes. "I do not want anyone else to be my father. I only want him." Ti-Wu was crying too. He did not care who saw. The officials talked among themselves for a long time. Finally, the head official stood up. "Mr. Kim," she said, "in my 30 years on this station, I have processed thousands of adoption cases. Most of them are just paperwork, but this one is different. This one matters." She picked up a document from the table. "You have shown us what it means to be human, not just in words but in actions. You took in a child that was not yours, from a species that was not yours, and you loved her as your own. You did this not for reward, not for fame, but simply because it was right." She walked around the table and handed him the document. "On behalf of Orbital Station Hana 7 and the Federation, I am pleased to confirm the permanent adoption of Lyra by Ti-Wu Kim. From this day forward, she is legally your daughter." The room erupted in applause. Strangers were cheering, officials were smiling, Bora was crying. But Ti-Wu only saw one thing: Lyra running toward him with her arms open. He caught her and lifted her up just like he did with Suwa. She was still small enough. Maybe she always would be. "We did it, Appa," she said, laughing and crying at the same time. "We did it, my daughter." Suwa ran over and hugged them both. "Sister," she shouted. "Real, official, forever sister." "Forever," Lyra agreed. They walked out of the hearing room as a family. People congratulated them. Cameras flashed, but Ti-Wu barely noticed any of it. He was too busy looking at the two girls holding his hands. Outside, the station was bright with afternoon lights. Workers walked past, going about their days. Ships came and went from distant docking bays. The universe continued on, vast and cold and indifferent. But in one small corner of that universe, something warm had grown. A family, a home, a place where children were loved not for what they were worth, but simply for who they were. Bora caught up with them at the transit platform. "So what now, hero? You are famous across the frontier. You could do anything." Ti-Wu looked at his daughters. They were already arguing about what to have for dinner. "I think I will just go home," he said. Bora smiled. "That sounds about right." They took the transit back to their small quarters in the lower market district. It was the same place it had always been, but it felt different now. Fuller, brighter. Lyra stopped at the door and looked around. "What is wrong?" Ti-Wu asked. "Nothing is wrong," she said softly. "It just feels real now, like I really live here, like it is really my home." Ti-Wu put his hand on her shoulder. "It has been your home since the first night, Lyra. The papers just made it official." She smiled at him, that real smile that reached her eyes, and walked inside. That night, Ti-Wu cooked a special dinner. He made Suwa's favorite noodles and Lyra's favorite vegetables. They ate together, talking and laughing like they had been doing this for years. And in a way, Ti-Wu thought they had. It had only been a few months since he found Lyra on that cargo crate, but it felt like a lifetime. It felt like she had always been part of his family, just waiting to find them. After dinner, the girls drew pictures at the kitchen table. Ti-Wu watched them from the doorway, his heart full. The galaxy was still vast and cold. Species still treated their children like property. Somewhere out there, mothers were still abandoning their daughters. But here, in this small room on a station among the stars, 3 people were proving that it did not have to be that way. That love could be given freely, without conditions. That worth was not something you earned, but something you were born with. Humans, the galaxy was learning, were wonderfully, stubbornly irrational. And that, Tiwu thought, was their greatest gift. 6 months had passed since the adoption became official. Tiwu stood at the kitchen counter, making breakfast like he did every morning. Behind him, he could hear the sounds of his daughters getting ready for school. They were arguing about something, as usual. "That is my ribbon," Suwa shouted. "You said I could borrow it," Lyra shouted back. "I said you could borrow it yesterday. Today I need it. You have 10 other ribbons. But this one is my favorite." Tiwu smiled and shook his head. 6 months ago, Lyra had been a silent, empty-eyed girl who never complained about anything. Now she was a normal child who fought with her sister about ribbons. It was beautiful. "Both of you stop fighting and come eat breakfast," he called out. 2 pairs of footsteps came running. Suwa appeared first, her hair half done, her school bag hanging open. Lyra came behind her, wearing the disputed ribbon in her dark blue hair. "She stole my ribbon," Suwa announced. "I did not steal it, I borrowed it. Borrowing requires permission. You gave permission yesterday." "Girls," Tiwu held up his hands. "There are bigger problems in the universe than ribbons. Eat your breakfast." They sat down and ate, still glaring at each other across the table. But Tiwu noticed that halfway through the meal, Lyra quietly took off the ribbon and slid it across the table to Suwa. Suwa took it without a word and put it in her hair. "Sisters." After breakfast, Tiwu walked them to school. The lower market was busy as always, full of aliens and humans going about their day, but people noticed them now. Strangers smiled and waved. Shop owners called out greetings. "There goes the famous family," one vendor shouted. Tiwu waved back, embarrassed. He still was not used to the attention. The Hana 7 effect, as they called it, had grown beyond anything he imagined. Human families across the frontier had adopted hundreds of abandoned alien children in the last 6 months. The Federation had started new programs for cross-species foster care. Even some non-human species were beginning to question their own customs. All because of one little girl on a cargo crate. At the school module, both girls hugged him goodbye. Suwa ran off immediately to find her friends. Lyra lingered for a moment. "Appa," she said quietly, "today is the day, right?" Tiwu nodded. "Today is the day." Lyra bit her lip. "Do I have to go?" "You do not have to do anything, but I think it would be good for you, and for others." She thought about this for a moment. Then she nodded and walked into the school, her shoulders straight and her head held high. Tiwu watched her go, feeling proud. She had come so far. That afternoon, he left work early to pick up Lyra. She was waiting for him outside the school, looking nervous. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready," she said, though she did not sound sure. They took the transit to the center of the station, where the administration buildings were. A small ceremony was being held today. Lyra had been asked to speak to a group of newly adopted alien children and their human families. The room was full when they arrived. Tiwu saw dozens of families, all different. Human parents with alien children of every species. Some of the children were very young. Some were teenagers. Some looked healthy. Some had visible disabilities that their original species had considered defects. All of them were loved. Bora was there, helping to organize the event. She smiled when she saw them. "There you are. We were worried you would not come." Lyra was nervous, Tiwu said. "I am still nervous," Lyra admitted. Bora knelt down to her level. "I understand, but these children and families need to hear from someone who has been through what they are going through. Your story gives them hope." Lyra looked at the crowd. So many small faces looking back at her. Some of them had the same empty, waiting look that she used to have. The look of children who had learned not to expect love. "Okay," she said, "I will try." She walked to the front of the room. Tiwu found a seat near the back and watched. Lyra stood before the microphone, looking tiny and brave. The room fell silent. "My name is Lyra," she began. Her voice was soft but clear. "I am Vellani, or I used to be. Now I am also human. My appa says I can be both." She paused, gathering her thoughts. 8 months ago, I was sitting on a cargo crate in the lower market. My mother had left me there. She said she would come back, but I knew she would not. Vellani mothers do not come back for children like me, children who are not perfect. Some of the alien children in the audience nodded. They understood. I thought I would sit there forever. I thought nobody would want me. I had learned that I was not worth wanting. Lyra's voice shook a little, but she kept going. Then a human found me. He was just a normal person, a cargo worker with his own daughter. He had no reason to care about me, but he did. Tiwu felt tears in his eyes. He took me to his home. He fed me. He held me when I cried. When he found out my mother had abandoned me on purpose, he was so angry, not at me, at her, at my people, at anyone who could throw away a child like garbage. Lyra looked at the human parents in the room. Humans are strange. They do not calculate the value of a child. They do not ask if the child is useful or efficient. They just love. It does not make sense to other species. It is illogical. It is inefficient. It is wonderful. She turned back to the alien children. "I know some of you are scared. I know some of you are still waiting for people who are not coming back. I know some of you feel broken, defective, worthless. I felt those things too." Her voice grew stronger. "But you are not worthless. You never were. Your old families made a mistake when they gave you up. The biggest mistake of their lives, because now you belong to humans, and humans never give up on their children, not for sickness, not for difference, not for anything." She held up a drawing she had been carrying. Tiwu recognized it. It was the picture she had made months ago, the one he had found taped to her wall. It showed 3 figures, one tall human man and 2 small girls, one pink and one blue. Above them, in careful letters, was written a single word. "Home," Lyra said, showing the picture to everyone. "This is what humans give us, not just a house, not just food and medicine, a home, a place where we belong, a place where we are loved for who we are, not what we can do." She lowered the picture. "So do not be afraid. I know it is hard to trust again after you have been thrown away. I know it takes time, but these humans, your new parents, they will wait for you. They will wait as long as it takes, because that is what humans do." She stepped back from the microphone. For a moment there was silence. Then the room exploded in applause. Parents were crying. Children were crying. Even the officials were wiping their eyes. Lyra stood there, looking overwhelmed, until Su'a pushed through the crowd and grabbed her hand. "You did great," Su'a said proudly. "Best speech ever." Tiwu made his way to the front and pulled both his daughters into his arms. "I am so proud of you," he whispered to Lyra. "I meant every word," she said. They left the ceremony together, walking through the bright corridors of the station. Strangers congratulated them. Children waved. Parents thanked Tiwu for everything he had done. But he had not done anything special. He had just done what any human would do. He had loved a child who needed love. That night, back in their small quarters, life returned to normal. Su'a did her homework while complaining loudly. Lyra read a book while ignoring her. Tiwu made dinner while pretending not to notice that both girls were sneaking snacks. After dinner, they sat together in the small living room. Outside the window, the stars turned slowly around the station. Cargo ships came and went. The universe continued on, vast and strange and full of species that measured worth in terrible ways. But inside this room, 3 people had built something different. "Appa," Lyra said sleepily, leaning against his shoulder, "do you ever regret it?" "Regret what?" "Taking me home that first night. All the trouble I caused, all the money I cost, all the time." Tiwu thought about the question carefully. He thought about the exhaustion and the paperwork and the extra shifts. He thought about the interviews he did not want and the attention he did not ask for. Then he thought about Lyra's first real smile, about her first laugh, about the first time she called him Appa, about the way she and Su'a argued like sisters and made up like friends, about the drawing on her wall, about the speech she gave today. Not for a single second, he said. Lyra smiled and closed her eyes. Within minutes she was asleep. Su'a had already fallen asleep on his other shoulder. Tiwu sat there, unable to move, with two daughters holding onto him like he was the most important thing in the universe. Maybe he was, to them at least. He thought about his wife, gone now for more than 3 years. He wondered what she would think of their strange new family, a widowed cargo worker, a curious human daughter, an alien girl with storm cloud skin and violet eyes. She would love it, he decided. She would love every chaotic, beautiful moment of it. Outside, a ship crossed the stars, heading somewhere far away. Somewhere out there, Vellani traders were still abandoning children they considered worthless. Somewhere out there, species were still calculating the value of lives like products on a shelf. But here on orbital station Hana 7, the Hana 7 effect was spreading. Humans were adopting. Humans were fostering. Humans were loving children who had been told they were unlovable. And slowly, one child at a time, the galaxy was learning something that humans had always known. Worth was not measured in usefulness. Love was not earned through perfection. A child was precious simply because they existed. It was illogical, it was inefficient, it was wonderfully, stubbornly human. Tiwu held his daughter's clothes and smiled. This was home, and he would not trade it for anything in the universe.